Welcome to the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to the commercial food equipment repair industry. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group and a certified successor trainer. My goal is to shine a light on what I believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. I love the work I do, and I'm glad you're here listening to this podcast. In this episode, Dusty and I talk about tech support do's, don'ts, and etiquette, and more. Thanks for tuning in. What's going on, everybody? So tonight, me and Dusty are going to talk about tech support do's, don'ts, and etiquette. This isn't only pertaining to calling a manufacturer. This can pertain calling to coworkers, friends. If you're calling somebody for help, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So, what's going on, Dusty? How you been, buddy?
Pretty good, man. Been busy. How you been?
Busier than I want to be, man. I'm trying to chill out a little bit with some of the stuff. I've worked a bunch, and my February was kind of crazy. I didn't really do a whole lot of work. I did some Saturday stuff to help out and some install stuff, but didn't really work a whole lot. And I'm just not feeling working a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that phase too, because towards the tail of the year last year in January, I was just full throttle. And then you hit that wall and you're like, damn, man, I just want to chill for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get back into it. Just, I'm off tomorrow, so I didn't want to kill myself this week. I'm off Monday for a funeral, so I'm not going to want to kill myself next week. So if I take a day off, I don't know how your guys' company works, but where we work at, you still got to work 40 hours of overtime plus the 8 hours for the day off. So it's just I'm not killing myself. So it is what it is. We'll get there. I'm sure the week after I'll be back to going crazy.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm kind of just a couple week break because I know this summer and this spring I'm going to be full throttle again. So
yeah, I don't have any more time off planned after next week until I think the NRA show. So
next year?
Well, it's in May.
Oh, okay.
So NRA's in May in Chicago, and then I may take some I think I will. Actually, I think I'm gonna take a week off in April for spring break and go rent a cabin. So we'll see.
Oh, okay.
Busy. I can't tell if we got a couple people in here. So what I just want to talk about is tech support stuff. I have guys call me from my company, other companies, and I try to help them out as best I can. So when you call tech support, I know it's rough, and I'm not knocking tech support guys. I couldn't do that job. I get frustrated as it is fielding my guys' questions. So, what kind of procedures do you do when you call tech support? I know when I call, I try to make sure that I've done everything I can. I've heard horror stories of. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Pretty much my process is pretty standard, because tech support usually takes a while because they're swamped, and so usually I'll just read the diagram, use a meter, try to get to where you are unable to get past. You know what I'm saying? So figure out, because a lot of times I'm sure tech support gets frustrated. I'm sure because when I was early in this and I would call you, and you would be like, oh, check here and this. But before you even get to that point, you've already solved the problem yourself. So it's pull out a meter, read the diagram, try to troubleshoot yourself. And then, because tech support's there for if you're stumped and you just need help, or if you need specific questions about readings or something like that. So I usually try to have all my reading, because there's a company, I don't know if we're name dropping, but there is a manufacturer out there, and if you haven't used your meter, they can tell you haven't used your meter, and it just they won't help you, or they'll kind of act like, which is a good thing, because they're trying to just fill out the guys who call on the way to the job, and they're like, oh, the customer said it's not heating or it's heat failure. So I pretty much just make sure I get to a point before I call tech support, unless it's something specific, unless I need to know volt, like a specific reading, or what something, a part number, something like that. I use a meter, schematic, and before I call tech support or anybody else. So.
Yeah. You hit on something there that kind of irks me. You said call on the way to site. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had manufacturers that want you to call before you get there so they can run something by you because they probably already know what it is or they've had an issue with something. They want you to check that ahead of time. I get that if you're requested to do it, but don't call a manufacturer on the way to site and try to get information from them. Try to get them to tell you what it is before you get there. They don't know. They're not psychic. I mean, unless that unit's hooked to the internet and it tells them what's wrong, they're not going to know. I mean,
Exactly.
you're wasting that guy's time, you're wasting that company's time, and you're making yourself look bad and your company look bad. So don't
Yep.
call on the way to site trying to fish for answers before you get there because it may be completely unrelated. I mean, these customers tell you units down or not lighting, but guess what, man? There's a million things that could be. So
Mm-hmm.
the manufacturer doesn't know just because it's warranty or whatever. They're not going to be able to help you out just because you're calling them. I mean, get in front of the equipment and do some work on your own.
No.
I preach to guys all the time. I'm like, I'll have a guy call, like it'd be like say if it's a gas oven or something, or a gas range or a gas combi, anything gas, and they'll be like, hey, call me, hey, it's not lighting, or hey, I get this. I'm like, well, what's the gas pressure? Well, it's good. No, good is not a gas pressure reading. I want to
Yeah.
know gas pressure. Good doesn't cut it. And the factory wants the same thing. They don't want good. They don't want if they ask you for the voltage good. Good is not an answer. If they're asking you what it is, you need to be able to give them a reading, whether it's gas pressure, voltage, or other things. I mean, I get it. I mean, there's days we're frustrated. Today, I got my butt kicked on some stuff, and it wasn't my fault, but I had to deal with tech support several times, and I lost my cool. I mean, I had a customer getting crappy with me, and I called tech support. I talked to one guy; he was really good, and I had been working with him with this issue a couple times a day, and I called back, got somebody else, and that guy wanted to pop off with some smart ass answers, and I wasn't in the mood for it. He probably wasn't in the mood for it, so I just hung up. And I called right back, and the same dude answered. And as soon as he said his name, I hung up, and the dude called me because they got our number, and he called me, and he was like, "Hey, don't hang up." I was like, look, man, I was like, I'm not trying to like go through everything I've already went through. I said, I've been working with this particular issue for a little bit today. And it wasn't really a tech support issue. It was more of I was doing an install and they were trying to change some stuff and it wasn't going to work and just trying to get it to work. But, it was what it was. But he ended up helping me. But I just wasn't in the mood. So, I mean, we all have our days, but give them the information they need, they ask for. I mean, good.
No, and that's something that I do too. So I'll check, if it's all relating to that. Pretty much all my readings that source the problem. So like my gas pressure, my voltage here, check your continuity through your limits, all that kind of stuff. And then I'll usually write it down, like my ohms readings, my voltage, my gas pressure, and I carry I'm such an 80-year-old man because I carry like an actual paper notepad, and I'll just write all that stuff down. So when they ask, you don't have to recheck it or say, hold on a second. You're just boom, 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 boom. And I mean, when you do that, your call and they actually help you a lot better. They're more inclined because they know this guy's trying, he's putting in the work before he calls us. And a lot of times you'll learn a lot from those guys. So
yeah, that's a great point. Write down the information. If you're getting readings, you need to write that down. You're not going to remember all that. So I like to write it down anyway, especially when I'm working on a call. It's an issue. Some manufacturers, they want you to, there's a certain brand fryer out there. If it's under warranty and it's a gas issue and you call them and you don't have static dynamic pressure, you don't have static dynamic pressure of everything on that line, you don't have millivolts reading from the thermal pile, you don't have all that, they're not going to help you. I mean, just because that's the basic stuff they want for their equipment and you got to do it. So, I mean, it's all going to come back to you doing some work on your own before you get there.
Exactly. And that's part of, and you never learn if you just call tech support. And sometimes, the wait time's crazy or they don't give you the answer you want or need. And, if you don't learn the diagnostic process up into that point, you're screwed. I mean, you can't call tech support. I mean, you can call them every single call. I'm not knocking it, but you'll find yourself calling them a lot less the more work you do on your own. So,
yeah. I mean, I've heard horror stories from tech support guys where, they ask someone to get a reading and they don't even know how to use a meter. They don't have to turn the meter on. I mean, it's like, holy cow. I mean, we as an industry have to do better at training our guys or making sure our guys know how to use the tools. I mean, I couldn't imagine sending a guy out that doesn't even know how to turn a meter on to work on
Gosh.
stuff. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
and that it,
I
my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh, you're good. I was just saying, I get it. I mean, we're we're trying to get new guys in, and there's guys that don't have experience, whatever. But we got to use the basic tools before we try to turn them loose.
Yeah, exactly. I think I don't know if anyone's who's really doing it, but there's one manufacturer I brought up earlier who's doing it. They're grading technicians based upon their call-ins to tech support. And I actually heard that when I was at Cefesa. They're giving technicians and companies a rating based upon previous tech support conversations. So you'll eventually get. I mean, they'll keep tabs, and you'll get a name for yourself. So
That's crazy. I never heard of that. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I'm I I mean, I've been doing this coming on 17 years, and I don't I don't I mean, I don't call tech support unless I absolutely have to. Most of the time, I only call them if it's forced because of warranty issues or something like that. Um, but I mean, I do field a lot of questions, so I get it. It's not an easy job. I mean, if I call tech support and they ask me my serial number, I give it to them, and then as soon as they ask for what's going on, I unload on them. And most of the time they freak out because they're not expecting someone to unload data, you know,
Mhm.
you know, pressures, readings, amp draw, all that stuff. They're not expecting people to unload that on them. And a lot of those guys, I mean, I'm not knocking them, but they're reading a flow chart, dude. They're starting here and they're working through, going to this page for this problem, going to this page for this problem. And by the time I call, it's to the point where, well, what we're dealing with is probably not in your book anywhere. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
but I got to remember that I got to have patience and let these guys go through the process because that's how they're trained, it's how they work. And sometimes I lose patience with them, and unfortunately, I don't mean to. It's just that, I've been down that route. I've been through, I know how to find your guys' stuff. I know how to do this. If I'm calling, there's an issue. So it's patience is a huge part as far as dealing with tech support.
Yeah, I would agree. And, vice versa. I'm sure they have to deal with a lot too. And we deal with a lot. It's kind of like, especially when you get towards that like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, if that's when you call tech support, they're stressed, we're stressed. It's just never a smooth conversation. So it's, but you just kind of got to realize that who knows who they've been talking to all day. And so you just be prepared, and that's all you can really do.
Yeah, I mean, when COVID hit, a lot of these manufacturers they dumped a lot of their tech support guys. They dumped a lot of their training guys. So, guys that are doing tech support for them now maybe haven't been trained as well, um, or they're just overworked. I mean, a lot of these guys are still working from home. I've noticed, like, I can hear like a dog or something in the background. So these guys are still working from home.
Yeah.
They're letting some of these tech support guys work remotely. They don't have to come to the factory. They don't have to, be in that city or whatever. And I think that's cool, but it yeah, it can be crazy sometimes.
Yeah. And you'll also, when it comes to tech support guys, you'll get the ones that you can tell had experience in the field and
Mm-hmm.
had their hands on certain pieces of equipment. So you can usually tell the specialists, the technicians, and those are the kind of guys you want. Like you said, when you've went through the flow chart per se, and you need something beyond that, those are the guys you hope for.
Yeah,
But you know,
I've been doing this a long time, and luckily I've met some people that are pretty high up in service departments, and
mhm.
I can reach out to them directly. I'll send them a text, "Hey, you available?" Or "Hey, I'm dealing with this." Or I'll send them an email like, "Hey, I've been dealing with this. This one's kind of stumped me a little bit, and I've kind of got a little backdoor into that." So I'm not telling you to do this, but if you ever get an email address for somebody, save that email address.
Yeah, I do 100%. I've actually made a few connections with a few different manufacturers, and it is crazy. You can just shoot them an email, and a lot of times they'll reply back to you or shoot them a text. Um, and that's a huge thing to have in your back pocket. There's no hold time, there's no wait time, and it's kind of like they'll get to you when they get to you, but it's a direct line. And you usually know the person. You're like, oh, they've helped me out before, knowledgeable guy. Um, but there's a few guys, emails and phone numbers that I have that I do that, and that's a great practice to have.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know about you, but have you been experiencing like super long wait times for tech support and stuff here lately?
No, I usually call and it goes right through. No, I'm just kidding. No,
So,
it's buckle up. So it's some of them. I mean, there's one where I think I called the other day and I was 26 in the queue,
oh
and I'm like,
boy.
man, and I still have their hold music stuck in my head. Like right now to this day, I can still hear it.
Yeah, I've had one that was like 25, and
Yeah,
I mean, I waited out because I mean, sometimes you have to for warranty. You got to call and get through them.
yeah.
It's nuts. I sat on hold. I was at a call where they made you get warranty authorization from site.
Hmm.
And you couldn't leave, and I literally waited an hour and 45 minutes to get an authorization number when the
Oh
job
my
took like
gosh.
30 minutes. The job was literally a 30-minute job. I'm like, you guys
Yeah.
realize you paid me there? Sit there for that long? Like, well, I mean, it's just how we want it done. I'm like, that's fine. You're gonna pay for it.
Yeah. So you're just on hold waiting for what, a confirmation number?
Yeah, wait for confirmation number because they don't want you to leave in case they want you to check
Yeah.
something else. I'm like, this is so stupid. I could have drove
Jeez.
home, been chilling for an hour before they even answered the phone. But I just sat there in the parking lot, waiting it out. It's just part of it.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I've majority of the time I call tech support now. It's a hold time. It's a wait time, and I feel like it's gotten maybe a little worse. I don't know if maybe it's because the like industry is like hiring more technicians. I don't know why, but I feel like recently it's been a whole lot longer. Now there's some manufacturers that'll pick up under 10 minutes, but most of the time you're waiting there for a little bit.
Yeah, that sucks. The whole music uh,
Yeah.
it gets stuck in your head, and you can tell what companies are all together or use the same software because it's the same music, and it just drives you nuts.
Well,
Have
some
you
of
had
them.
any? Go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was gonna say, have you had any luck with the ones where you can press one and they'll save your spot in the queue and call you back?
The only one is are we allowed to say manufacturer names
I
or
mean, we're not dogging anybody out. I mean, so yeah,
yeah.
we can say it.
Henny Penny. I've actually used their callback feature, and they actually have a text feature now too, where you can text tech support, which is
Yeah,
pretty cool, and they're pretty fast.
yeah. I'm always leery about like giving up your place in line. I'd never done it because I'm just scared it's not going to work. So I didn't know if you've actually done it and someone's called you back.
Yeah,
It freaks me out every time they say it. So I just never try it.
I've no, I've anytime I've done it, I've had luck out of it. And one time I did it, and it was so long I'd already diagnosed it and left the job site, and they called me back, and I was like, "Hello, who is this?" And they're like, "You called us." I was like, "Oh, never mind.
I got it figured out.
We're good."
That's funny. So today I had some tech support issues with that oven, those combi ovens I was installing. They were out the shams. I mean, I'm not
Hmm.
beating them up. Uh, they so they have a feature where they can send you a text message, and you click
Hmm.
on it, and it goes to a website, and it actually opens up a camera. You allow it to view your camera. You turn on speakerphone, and like you can show them what you're working on, and they can like walk you through things via camera.
Oh yeah, I've actually done that with Prince Castle.
Yep. I think Prince Castle says too. Yeah, so that was kind of extreme neat. So, I mean, they don't do it all the time, but I think it's like for the one-off or weird stuff they can do
Hmm.
it. But it's pretty cool.
So they have to like escalate you to that, or was it just an option?
Um, well, they were trying to see what I was talking about because I had that weird situation with this oven. So the customer ordered the oven to go under a hood, and they ordered disappearing doors,
Hmm.
and the hood filled up. They couldn't put it under the hood, so they put it in the next room over. Well, they needed a ventless hood, so they ordered a ventless hood. And come to find out, you can't put a ventless hood on a unit with the sliding or disappearing door because the hardware for the door mounts on top and it sticks
Hmm.
up, so it doesn't. The clearances it won't allow it. It just turned into a major nightmare. And I had to call for a couple different things before we realized it was. I got to the part where they realized you couldn't put on a disappearing door. So by the time I got to the part where they seen it as a disappearing door, a sliding door. I had already put on option boards. I'd already done a bunch of other stuff. And I was to the point where I was getting ready to lift the top unit off because I had to change the bottom unit top plate for the stack kit because
Hmm.
it uses a different vent, so it wouldn't reach the vent pipe to seal off. So by the time we got there, and they realized what was going on. It was too late. It was already a nightmare. Customers mad, dealers blaming me. It's just one thing after another, just a headache.
Gosh, what did you finish the install, or is it one of those?
No, I
Is what
can't.
it
You
is.
can't. You can't do it. So they're trying to
Yeah.
see if they can specially make a ventless unit for it, or if they're going to replace the sliding doors with standard doors. But if you do that, we're going to replace the top of both ovens. It's just a nightmare, dude. I got a sales guy telling me it's my fault. I can't be telling this customer this stuff, and they special ordered it, they special made it, and I'm like, no, it's just he said, and
Yeah.
I've got two people blaming me, and the factory saying it's not my fault. I did nothing wrong, but we'll see what happens with it.
That's crazy, man. That's a huge headache. Was that like customers buy that, or wholesaler or distributor sells it, and then you just install it?
It was dealers, so they had a kitchen designer design it. Then a dealer got involved because they moved to a different room, and I don't know who spec'd out the ventless hood, but someone didn't catch it, and it's just turned into a major shitstorm. I told the guy at tech support at Outside Channel, I was like, "Can I just send this oven back and you send the right oven?"
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "I wish."
Just send us the right one. Oh, no, that's crazy. But I mean, that is a cool feature that they're utilizing for stuff like that. Because I mean, how do you explain? I mean, you could explain it, but I mean, it's kind of a rare situation. So having eyes on it is you need to. You gotta have eyes on it.
Yeah, refrigeration kitchen tech. He brings up a good point. So I've been to some manufacturers training too, and a lot of them have a screen that actually lists the calls, and it lists how long you've been on hold and stuff. So like you'll get guys, oh, I've been on hold for 45 minutes, and tech support guys like, well, you've been on hold 15 minutes, but whatever.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so they know exactly.
oh, they know exactly. Everything's tracked because everything's internet. I mean, all the phones are through the internet now, so they can track everything. So, I mean, how you Altosham, I called back in and I hung up on that guy twice, and he called me right back. So he knew exactly who I was and where I was at, and I never left him a number. So
Yeah.
it was pretty funny. So,
Well, good luck with that, man. I mean, that's it sounds like something you're going to be dealing with for a couple weeks.
I'm hoping he's get a new unit. I'm hoping. I guess I'm taking the sliding doors off, converting them over, which is not going to be fun either. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, Scott Westbrook says Altosham best export around, and it's called Texie. Yeah, I've had pretty good luck with it, man. When I do call Altosham, they work out pretty well. I mean, I've had issues with every company on tech support, and I mean, just the case. And most of the time, it is I'm in a mood or they're in a mood. I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, I'm just as guilty as the next person. I'll have an attitude, so I'm not trying to say I'm perfect.
I've honestly never called. I don't believe I've ever spoke with Altosham tech support. We don't really have a whole lot of I guess more of the intelligent equipment of Altosham down here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's mainly just warranty stuff. I have to call them. They make you call from site for every warranty call and get authorization. And then on some of their stuff, they want certain parameters and stuff checked before you leave. So that's the one that always drives me nuts. But they have a back door for warranty techs, and you don't wait near as long if you just go through the normal stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Altosham. What are those combi ovens?
They make all kinds of stuff, but yeah, it's the combi ovens, and they make a little vector. They call it a vector oven. It's like a multi-chamber oven, so you can have different. It's one oven, but there's different chambers, and it uses air blown through the bottom and top plate, and it kind of impinges the heat. And you can actually cook it there's 2-chamber, 3-chamber, 4-chamber, and you actually cook it different temperatures in each chamber. So it's kind of cool.
Nice. Yeah, it's down here we have a lot of restaurants calling their holding cabinets Altoshams.
Well, yeah, it's a sham. So that's what they started off with was there's a warming cabinet, and it's kind of grown from there.
Yeah.
So refrigeration kitchen tech says Altosham averages all the service calls across North America to see how long a warranty call should take. Interesting concept. Yeah, there's a lot of companies that actually do that. Then they pay you based on that time. Now, they will pay you if a call takes longer, but you got to justify it and explain why it took longer in order to get payment for longer times. Rationale does a program like that as well. They'll pay a certain number of hours to do a job, And if it goes
Mhm.
over, they want to know why. But if it goes under, you still get paid that same amount. So
Oh, nice. So you have to call like before and after, like check in, check out, or just check out?
AltoSham is just when you check out if you need an authorization number. Um,
Hmm.
Now, I have some third-party service stuff we do stuff for. We have to check in when we get site, check out when we leave. Some you can call from your phone. Some you have to call from the site phone. Some you can use an app if your phone's GPS enabled and it tracks your location. And sometimes the address doesn't match what the GPS coordinates are, and it's just a headache. It
Mm.
is what it is. Scott, who do you work for? He says they track hold and call times, and their average hold time is 2 minutes. Um, that'd be sweet. I have pretty good luck, like I said, but I'm not calling everybody um, unless I absolutely have to. We had a guy; he'd call every manufacturer, warranty or not, tech support, and let them know what he did to that unit. And I'm like, dude, it's not warranty. Why are you calling them? You're wasting your time. You're wasting their time. So,
So, well, he would just call and check out for nothing, just because.
oh, Scott Westbrook works for AltoSham. Are you on the tech line, or what do you do
Oh
there,
man.
bud? That's funny. Throwing him under the bus. No. Uh, See, I'm not here to bash anybody. I mean, I do AltoSham work. I'm the AltoSham designated tech for Indianapolis area. I do AltoSham pretty much any call that comes in. If it has to be a designated tech, it's me that goes for the Indianapolis market. So
Nice.
that's cool. I mean, but like the tech sports stuff, it all comes down to doing a little bit of work before you get there, doing a little bit of work on your own. Um, their job's hard
Investigative
enough as
diagnostic.
investigative diagnostics. Yeah, I see it as a regional manager Northeast US. Okay, okay. Um, so you're not over Indiana, are you? No, I'm not sure. Um,
Northeast.
Northeast. That's probably stops at like Ohio, I imagine.
Like
Um,
Pennsylvania, Boston, New York.
yeah. So I like a challenge. So I'm not going to call tech support to try to get answers if I feel like I can try to get it myself. I
Hmm.
mean, I don't know about you. Like, that's how I like this job. It's a challenge. I like to see if I can overcome that challenge without getting help from somebody else.
And if you, I mean, if you figure it out and do the diagnostic process on your own, and you get to the solution and you solve that problem, I think you learn it and you retain it a whole lot more than if someone walks you through the steps. That's just how I feel personally.
Oh
So I
yeah.
kind of want to, I want to take a beating before I contact support.
Well,
You know?
like I said earlier, man, these guys call and they want the answer, and
Mhm.
that's not how it works. I mean, there's so many variables about calling tech support. There's so many variables in every piece of equipment. Self help, spot on. Yes. There's so many variables that change from every piece of equipment to every location between water pressure, gas pressure, voltages. I mean, I've driven down the street and at one place be 208, and in the next place is 213, and go to another place and
Mhm.
it's like 199. I mean, it's just transformers play an issue. I mean, you got to do some work on your own. Don't go in there and just looking for answers. I mean, like I said, I don't give anybody answers. I'm going to give you questions that are going to lead you to the answer, because I feel that you're going to learn if I do that. If I just give you the answer, you're never
Mhm.
going to learn. You're going to keep calling me for answers, and that's not what I'm here for. I got enough of my own
Exactly.
problems. I don't need to give you answers. I'm still looking for my own most days.
No, but that's true though, and I mean, like, and then and you also learn how to get to that point because I've called some tech support, and you'll explain the issue, and before you get into what you did, they're like, "Oh, it's this." I'm like, wait, hold on a second. How do I check this to see if that's the problem? They're like, "Oh no, we hear this a lot. This is what it is." And I hate that. And I mean, yeah, it's easy to get you off the phone, and they're probably right because they're specialists doing that every day. But then again, I'll have no idea. Like, what if that bites you? Bites you in the future? Then you never knew how to get to that point. So those always frustrate me. I hate when I'm just given the answer right off the bat. Sometimes I'm frustrated. I'm like, just tell me what it is. But
Yeah, I like
but
that.
most
I mean, I want to know why it's that though. Um,
yeah.
I want to know why it is that. So I'm just an inquisitive person as it is. I don't want to know the answer. I want to know how to figure it out. I mean, yeah, there is days where I don't want to do the work and just give me the answers so I get out of here. But most days aren't like that. I want to learn so that if I run this again, I'm not calling tech support. So
Yeah. And also, like, for my notes, like, I like good detailed notes on work order. So, like, I want to put down factual evidence and data that I collected instead of being like, call tech support. They said it was the sensor, order the sensor, come back and fix it.
Yeah, I'll bring his comment up. He has got a good comment. So, agreed. Tech support is not a crutch. They expect their ASA partners to at least try for an hour before calling. We have tons of support items on the website. Yeah, I've seen a lot of your stuff on the website. I go by the 45-minute rule. I, that's what I was taught when I started 17 years ago. I try to fix it. I try to figure it out. If I'm not making headway or making progress in 45 minutes, that's when I'm going to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, man, there's so much stuff online that you can figure out the answers to most of the stuff. I'll repeat this every day until the day I die. But it's not so much about being good at your job. It's about being good at finding the information to do your job.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right. Because, I mean, that's something I learned early from a service manager of mine that was a huge, like, butthead. But he always said, you're not going to just know every problem, but you're going to have tools to be able to utilize to get to the solution of every problem. And that's how it transfers into this.
Yeah. So Tom Long says, have you guys ever had a beta unit and calling tech support and they've never seen the unit? Yeah, I've had some units like that. And it's kind of frustrating. It's kind of weird. They're like, that unit doesn't exist. I'm like, yeah, it does. And then finally, they ask somebody like, oh, what are they working on? I've done some stuff like that with FryMaster. They called me, hey, we need you to look at this. It's a test unit for a location. Did you get there? And there's all kinds of stickers on it that says proprietary to this, this, and this. I'm like, oh boy, this is bad. So, I mean, there's situations where you run into that and, they can't, tech support's not going to know everything, especially if they're a company that has multiple things. Like, so Scott's in here, I'll talk about Altosham. I mean, Altosham has a lot of different stuff, dude. They make warmers, they make hot wells, they make combi ovens. They used to make fryers. They have blast chillers out there. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff out there. And so you call them tech support, those guys aren't just focusing on one thing. Some of these brands, they have guys that just focus on one thing. You call in for, say, Convotherm. You used to call Cleveland and get they'd help you with the Convotherm stuff. Well, now you're just calling straight Convotherm. You're dealing with guys that only deal with Convotherm products. So, they're pretty knowledgeable. They can get you to the answer pretty fast, but you never know. I mean, some of these companies, they may have 50, 60 different offerings, and these guys got to try to cover it all. So, I mean, you got to have a little patience with them sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is true about Convotherm. Those guys are pretty on point.
Yeah.
Getting the.
So Refrigeration Kitchen Tech says new techs will change the part based on what tech support tells them to change. I always tell my team, did you meter that out for part to confirm? Yeah, I've been burned on that. I've had, when I first started, call tech support, it says change it, and changed it. It still does the same thing. And then, if it's warranty or you explain to your customer, well, they told me to do that. Well, now you're stuck with this part that you put in. It's not the problem, and their unit's still down. So it's kind of rough. I don't try to blame tech support unless it's, they sent the part out and said, hey, change this. Even if I do get a call where it says they send the part, I always diagnose that part. And like he said, I mean, so say if they send you out a gas valve or they send you out a contactor, you can ohm out that coil of the new one and compare it to the old one. Okay, it is in fact a coil, or it is in fact a valve or something. So, I mean, at least if you do have that part, you can kind of see and kind of get a better idea.
Well, it's like some of the temperature sensors that were giving everybody troubles a couple months ago.
Oh god, it's gone. So glad it's over.
Man, it's really dissipated. Like I really haven't. I mean,
we went from like 20 a week to like none now.
Yeah, it was all the time, and now I haven't heard a word. So that's good. Hopefully it's just all the ones that were bad got fixed, and we're just back and rocking.
Yeah, I did. I haven't seen. Well, I don't do a whole lot of those. I mean, a little bit when I had the trainees with me more, but man, it was bad, dude. I was doing them every weekend. I was like on call. I'm changing like 2 or 3 probes a weekend. I'm like, this is stupid. And then doing it in a week, you're changing one like every night. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
So
Tom Long. Good.
No, you're good.
I was just going to read Tom Long. He said he did the beta test for Garland for Wendy's. Um, I've done some of the first units in Indiana. I'd love to have been a part of the beta test. That's cool. Those units are. I like those units. They're having problems, but I don't think the unit's the actual problem. I think it's more along the lines of improper cleaning procedures that's causing most of the issues of those units. So, as far as I know, they're getting ready. They got to rework on new platen covers or new platens, upper platens to take care of some of the issues. But that'd be a pretty cool program to work with. I try to jump on like the beta test, man. If I get one in my area, I make sure I try baby it because that's cool. You don't get a whole lot of stuff like that, Dusty, because you guys don't do a lot of warranty work, do you?
Yeah, we don't really do any warranty work. I mean, we'll warranty our own work, but as
Yeah.
far as manufacturer warranty, we don't really. So I'm not a whole lot of experience with that stuff because I guess if it's beta, or if it was, warranty company's going to handle it, and
Yeah.
eventually we'll get to it.
Yeah,
So.
it's definitely different. When you open up something, there's no label and it says proprietary. I've opened up stuff that says property of like the manufacturer. I'm like, what did I just get into?
Where do you get
I,
information on that? Is there like service manuals for
well,
it?
most of the time, if you get called out for something like that, they're telling you to call from site. They're giving you a number of the specialists. They're giving you a number of like an upper level service manager, service in the service department. It's upper level that can help you out. So
Yeah.
it's definitely crazy though.
Yeah, that's kind of a different beast because, unless you had a specialist number to that, I would imagine if you call manufacturer, they're not clueless, but you work a little harder.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't imagine. I mean, it's hard. It's hard enough of a wiring diagram. If you don't have a wiring diagram on something like that, it's nuts. So hopefully they give you good contact information. So Dean Pearson says he gives his younger technicians an hour. Yeah, an hour, 45 minutes. I always just say 45 minutes because by the time they actually get the courage to call, it's going to be about an hour.
Like, all right, I got to do it. I got to do it. But I mean, you'd be surprised at how much you can figure out in that 45 minutes. I mean, you can check and test. It sounds like not enough time, but if you really get into the flow of checking everything in proper sequence, I mean, you're probably gonna. I mean, you're likely gonna find your answer within that window. So
Yep. So, I mean, it all comes down to is you have to do a little work on your end and have a little
yeah,
patience. Like Dusty said earlier, if you take a measurement, write that down. So if you can't remember it, write it down. I mean, we all used to carry those little notebooks. I've got 2 cell phones. I've got a notes app on my phone. If I know it's going to a ton of information, I write all that down. Um, you know, like on a lot of the sealed refrigeration stuff, they don't want you to put taps on there. So you got to do a lot of your own work ahead of time for you to put taps on there. I mean, some of these manufacturers make you call before you put taps on there. So, I mean, in situations like that, you're recording data. You're recording pressure, not pressures, but you're recording line temperatures, suction line, liquid line, discharge line. You're recording Amtrol. I mean, so any information you think that you've used or you've acquired in the process of checking out that piece of equipment, save that, write it down, and that's just going to be more information you can pass along to the factory. It's just going to help you out and make their job easier and your job easier.
exactly. And that's a one more thing too. I'll add to that is it's we kind of talked about it a little bit on our intermittent issues show. But another thing I usually like to write down is I'll ask the kitchen and the staff when if it's an issue that's not exactly acting when I'm there, I say,
Mm-hmm.
when did this happen? What was going on when you were having this issue? And I'll write that down. So if I have to call tech support, I'll mention that too. And then a lot of times I can help you because if you call tech support, you're like, everything's working now, then, it's nobody has any idea. But if you say, oh, on peak times or when this is on and this is off,
Yep.
and then they'll get you that, I usually like to write that stuff down, but that's self-diagnostic too. But I think it's an important part of the conversation if you have to call someone.
Sweet. So I think it's about all I got on the tech support issues. Any trouble calls this week or anything that's kicked your butt recently you had to call tech support on?
Not. Gosh, if I did, I guess I forgot this week. It's been a pretty not so I guess head scratching week. It's been slightly smooth for the most part. Cross my fingers. I still got tomorrow to go, but I did change the heating element today in a holding cabinet, and that was a fun morning.
Dude. Yeah, no. What's he changing out to sham heating element?
That's the
I'm
blanket ones, isn't it?
Well, there's different style. I'm just picking on Altasham because Scott's in here. So
Hmm.
they have a blanket style on the small ones. They have, I don't know what you call it, blanket. It's just like a foil tape with the wire wrapped through there. So I've had old cook and hold units, and it's got ceramic insulators and it's got that wire. You actually have to fish it like in a big continuous strand all the way around this thing. I've got one
Yeah,
I got to do, and it's a nightmare.
that's kind of how the one I did today was. It comes in through the top, and it goes through those little wheels. It'll groove
Yeah.
through, groove up, groove
Oh,
down.
okay.
But
Yep.
so it's intertwining on both sides, but it's just one long wire. I remember I got the heating element, and I was like, "What in the?"
Dude,
So,
Scott's laughing. He knows, man. Dude, the first one I ever did was a Halo heated display cabinet, and it was in the bottom, and
well,
it was a nightmare. And it was that wire. It had to run. You had to run it through ceramic insulators and wrap it around, and it was just. Back then we didn't use the internet to order parts. We had a parts people. We'd call and tell them. And he sent me this roll of wire, and I called him. I was like, "This ain't the right part. This is a roll of wire." And the guy just started laughing at me. He goes, "No, that's the right part." He's like, "Have fun." And I was like, "No."
oh yeah, and you have just. I mean, I think 3 heating elements altogether, so you have 6 wires. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to just usually just pull that one out, separate that one, and fish it. I mean, it's a pain. It's a fun job, but you know, I guess other than that, I haven't really. I don't think I've had talked to tech support much this week. I think I did on Henny Penny just for a part number, but
Today's the most I've talked to tech support in a while. And Scott, if you talk to Marshall, tell him I'm sorry for hanging up on him twice.
oh, that was Alto Shame you called
That
today.
was out there shit today. Yeah. I talked to 3 different tech support guys. I talked to Claude several times. It was a rough day, and it wasn't. It was nothing with the unit. It was all sales guy issues, and they were just trying to get it situated and straightened out. And it was just a headache, man.
That's just
I
multiple
just
people involved in situations. So
Yeah. So when I call tech support and it's generally an issue, I want to try to get the same guy back. So that's
hmm
another thing we can talk about. If you're dealing with a problematic issue and you're trying to get the same guy over and over and over, get that guy's extension or get his direct line and try to get in that way.
yeah, no, I agree. And then because usually it's a problem they're familiar with, or
Mm-hmm.
someone that you can, because there's some tech support where I talk to him like, man, that guy's great. He really knows his stuff. So I
Mm-hmm.
usually get his name. And there's a guy. I'll do a shout out. I think his name's Ron, maybe Frymaster, older guy.
Hmm.
I think that's his name. But that dude knows his stuff. I have tons of schematics and diagrams and flowcharts in my email that I've utilized a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's you kind of want to remember that stuff and keep the extension and the name so you can know in the future.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing with the names, if someone tells you to do something and it's under warranty, write down who you talk to's name
Yeah,
in your notes, because if they have a question about what happened, they can always go back to that person, and try to see. Um, I've had tech support guys where I ask them like, "Hey, what's your name?" and they tell me their name is, "What's your last name?" and they won't give it to you. I'm
yeah.
like, "What the heck, dude?" I'm like, "That's kind of shady, man."
I
So
guess they don't
I
want you to repeat it or something, or
I, I don't I don't know if they don't want to repeat it or they don't want to be held liable. I mean, but it is what it is. Um,
they're just like Bob. That's my name.
I mean, I've had horrible tech support
Yeah,
problems in the past. I just keep picking on Altosham, but the lady they had, she got me years ago. She got me, and she called me an idiot. It was luckily it was after hours, and she was on a cell phone. I was like, "You're lucky this line's not recorded, and you're on your cell phone." I said, "Because I'd be having your ass."
yeah.
I
That's
was like,
nuts, man.
"Oh yeah, dude." She called me an idiot, and she told another guy that was working on this thing that he didn't have any idea what he was doing, and it was crazy. It was like it was a pinched wire in the back. They ran the wire and it got pinched between the frame and the back panel. And if the fan was at a certain speed, it vibrated enough and it rubbed through and it'd arc out and it'd blow the fuse. But it was like random. You couldn't get to do it. And like,
Hmm.
dude, she called me an idiot. She told this guy any other tech would have it figured out in 30 minutes. And dude, I was mad.
That's nuts, man. That's uncalled for. But did you call her an idiot, or were you just like, whatever?
No, I just bit my tongue and let it go. I just told her she was lucky she wasn't on a recorded line.
Yeah. I mean, that's I haven't really dealt with a lot of that. I mean, you'll deal with people who are brunt or short,
Yeah.
but most of the time they're stressed, or it's usually the more senior technical minded guys who are kind of like that way because they're trying to they get frustrated easier. But I've never really had anyone be straight out rude. So
Dude, when I first started, there was a guy that worked in Cleveland. If you called him and you got him and you didn't have the information he asked for, he just hang up on you.
yeah.
He was at tech support. This is the guy you're calling for help. He just hang up on you. Click. I got to the point I was so scared to call when I first started, and if I heard his name, I just hang up and call back.
Never mind.
I was so scared. I mean, but it taught me that hey, you got to do some of this stuff on your own. And I get it. The younger guys need help. They don't know, they experience. But yeah, man, he'd hang up on you if you didn't have the information he wanted.
Can they do that?
He did it. He didn't care.
Whatever.
He did it for years, man. It was always, dude. I heard that name. It was like click, call back. That's what I did to poor Marshall today. He didn't deserve it. So
yeah, you got him reversed,
Yeah. Well, I won't keep you any longer. Thanks for everybody for hopping on. We've had some good talks here. If anyone has any other questions or anything, just hit us up in the DMs, and we'll try to answer best we can.
That'll work, man.
See ya. Have fun tonight.
Yep. Will do.